Hi everyone, welcome back to Tallulah Talks. That is me. Forgive the noise in the background. It is my bird. He's very noisy, very active today. So today it is Sunday, which means it is time for Sunday's Haunting Hour. And today we are going to be looking at the haunted Wells House in Pennsylvania. I have heard or researched that people lived in this house and they've literally fled, leaving behind all their belongings due to how haunted this house is. And it was actually so much so that the Warrens came and took a look at the house as well. So let's get started. In December 2013, a man called Tim Woods bought the home at an auction, and it was known to be in a part of Pennsylvania called Wilkes-Barre. It was sold at an auction for $41,000, which, that's nothing. Homes over, in Scotland, if you're talking, a proper home, not a flat, they kind of range from, 100 grand and up. So, $41,000 in America, very, very cheap. That just kind of screams red flag. It was advertised for sale as an authentic haunted house by a woman called Betsy Summers, who actually lived opposite the home, and she is actually the caretaker of the home, or she was at this time. She said, quote, "It has a pretty nasty reputation. I take care of what I have to do and get out," end quote. Woods, however, wasn't buying this house to live in. He's actually a paranormal investigator. And pretty much the only way they could get into the house was if they bought it, because I think it was boarded up and it was trespassing and stuff. So he had this interest in the house from a paranormal perspective. So, in the history of the house, in 1846, Augustus Lanning inherited some land, I believe, from his mother who had died. And he actually built the home and lived there from 1861 to 1869, and that was his death. That wasn't his death, sorry, I'm bullshitting. In 1869, he actually sold the home and his business, and he actually died in 1875 at the age of 67. Apologies, that is my fault. He was said to not be very lucky in life. He arrived in Pennsylvania with his family, and it was kind of with the idea that he would work for his grandfather from the age of 14. His nephew died in a barn fire that was caused by lightning, it was said. And actually Lanning's factory also burned down around about this time. I'm not sure if it was the same cause, but it's very bad luck. The land on which the home was built was said to be, quote, soaked in blood. It was allegedly the site of a war between indigenous people who had originally owned the land and European settlers. Through the 19th and 20th centuries, the home was sold 3 different times for $1. That's $20 in today's money. $1. I'm not being funny. See the red flags? No, I'm good. If it's too good to be true, it is. And this was, the last time it was sold was May 1939. So between 1940 and 1950, it was again at auction, and it was actually heard that someone had committed suicide within this home. There were also 4 more deaths during this time, one of them being a 54-year-old priest who had a heart attack and died just walking past the house. He wasn't even in the house, he was walking past it. 54 years old. Nah. Nope. No, I'm not stupid. I'm good. March 1975, radio DJ Walker Bennett, who was 27, and his wife Marianne bought the home and then moved in with their 2 daughters. Again, why? If they were telling you the history of the house and you knew about the deaths and everything, why? I know it's cheap, and you think, oh yeah, okay, that's fine. But if it's too good to be true, then it is. The family claimed to hear strange sounds coming from behind a bedroom wall, and they actually kind of knocked this down and found a hidden tin, and this contained a red ribbon, a human tooth, and chicken bones, and they were tied together forming a cross. And all these things are actually said to be, in relation with voodoo rituals. It was believed they were part of a voodoo curse against the original owner. We're not sure why. In February 1976, Bennett would hear knocking and scratching at his front door, so he was going to answer the door. And when answering, he claimed to see a translucent figure of a man with a cloak, and he said that he had a crooked, very sinister smile. He allegedly later identified the man as Augustus Lanning, but I'm not sure how that would work because, in theory, with spirits, they're always attached to the places that they die, and he never died in the home. So I'm not sure. Anyway, he states that he also saw the spirit of a young girl in a nightgown walking through the walls of the home. He also found spots of blood on the walls, and once found a pool of blood on the living room floor. He also could smell decay coming from the kitchen. Again, yeah, no, I'd be out of there. The family would hear screams and moaning, voices and crying coming from inside the walls, and they also heard things in the attic. This being the sound of heavy footsteps, and this would be on the wooden floors above them. The family suffered from unexplainable illnesses as well. They would just kind of be struck down by really bad health. January 1977, both parents witnessed their daughter, almost like she was being pushed down the stairs, but in slow motion. And then she kind of floated to the bottom of the stairs and landed safely at the bottom. They brought in a priest to the home to bless the house, but unfortunately this was unsuccessful. In March 1978, the family fled the home, leaving behind nearly all of their belongings. Yeah. This was prompted when Bennett woke up to what sounded like thunder, but he looked outside and the weather was clear. He heard footsteps pounding in the attic, the front door rattling, dishes breaking, and the sound of children crying. So he was like, no, we're leaving, that's it. He did report it to his local paper, and the story was published on Halloween of the next year. So obviously that was just for like dramatic effect. The article stated that it left him in $40,000 worth of debt due to being unable to sell the house. No fucking wonder. And he actually developed a really bad drinking problem due to the stress that what was going on in the house was putting on him. After this, investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren actually came to look at the house. They couldn't gain access. This was in 1980 because it was locked. But Lorraine said, quote, "I sense a terrible despair. The effect on people who lived in this house was very negative," end quote. The home was then repossessed by the bank because obviously the family weren't paying the mortgage at this time. And it was bought from the bank for $20,000 in 1982 by Catherine Watkins. So she moved in with her two children. She was completely unbothered by the rumours. I think she basically said that a few ghosts weren't going to push her out of her home. She stayed in the home for 30 years. Until her death in 2012. And during her time, there were unexplainable things that happened in the house. This included shaking beds, moving objects, and light switches and electrics turning on and off. Her daughter then inherited the home, but she decided to put it up for sale, and this is when Tim Woods bought it in 2013. So moving on to the paranormal investigation that Woods did with his team. Woods only wanted to investigate the haunted home. In 2006, he founded a company called Live Sci-Fi, and he would live stream his investigations. So between October 2013 and February 2014, Woods and his team conducted several investigations within the home. This included a 48-hour live stream from within the home and a 30-day live stream of him and his team staying in the house. All episodes are available on his website and on YouTube, so if you want to go and have a watch. And he described the feeling of someone breathing on him and being punched. Investigators would have, scratches on their faces and their clothes tugged on. And once the investigation was over, Wood stated, quote, I believe this is haunted by a demonic presence that can't be removed, end quote. On the early hours of Wednesday, July 25th, 2018, the police were called to the home to catch an intruder who wanted to break into the house to basically see the ghosts. And I believe May 2019, the house was sold again at auction for £16,000. From what I understand, the owners are still there. But screw that. I don't really feel any sympathy for anyone who knew what was going on in that house, who had heard the rumours, because you knew what was going on. You should have questioned why the house was going for such a low price. But if anyone has been to this home and seen anything, can you please comment and let me know? Or if you have visited, let me know your experience. I think that would be quite good to, learn of your experience. I won't be here. I'll be here on Wednesday, for Killer Wednesday.